Major New Japan Pro Wrestling superstar wants the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. The Young Bucks leave Twitter after a botch goes viral in a major way following this week's AEW Dynamite. And another big update on Killer Kross. Where is he leaning towards as far as a new home in the world of professional wrestling? All this, plus so much more, right here on Off the Script Elite.
Delete! This is mine.
Alive with it. People still didn't. What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on the channel. This is Off the Script Elite, your number one place in the community for all your all-elite wrestling news and rumors. It is Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2019. Little bit of a different format here today. We're not going to go into the full-fledged podcast. It's going to be more like a news brief or an update, as you will, on major happenings happening right now in the world of all elite wrestling. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to hit that thumbs up if you enjoy what you see here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on that bell for all notifications. And if you missed Monday Night Raw and the flagship podcast Off the Script, episode 305, everything you need is going to be linked right down in the description of this very video. Brief update on Killer Kross and where he might end up. Is it going to be NXT? Is it going to be Ring of Honor? Possibly New Japan? Or is he going to end up in All Elite Wrestling? As I spoke about it on Saturday's episode of Off the Script in a very heated rant as to why WWE needs Killer Kross on top of everybody else that they're not currently using or not currently using correctly, Impact Wrestling has finally granted the release of Killer Kross. He is now a free agent and free to sign with anybody in the industry. He has committed to an appearance for MLW on February 1st. It's 5 days before my birthday, by the way. But the big question, not that you guys give a shit about that, but anyway, but the big question is where he decides to sign with, or who he decides to sign with long term. Now, WrestleVotes, the insider account on social media that has broken some pretty big stories in the past, is reporting that WWE is pursuing him harder than most free agents. AEW effect! Oh my goodness, man. I'm still ill after all these months. You guys know the deal already. WWE is pursuing him harder than most free agents. Obviously, you know why, to keep him away from AEW. They don't need Killer Kross. They know it. He knows it. If he ends up going there, God bless him, but they don't need him. It makes sense because he has the potential to be a major breakout superstar for any company that he signs with. Seems like WWE has a solid shot at signing him because of the money I am sure he is going to be, getting via the contract, especially since his girlfriend as well, Scarlett Bordeaux, works for NXT. Kross has also, it's been noted that he's got major friends, good friends, elite friends in All Elite Wrestling, and he would likely get an offer from them as well that may very well match or supersede the one from WWE. New Japan is also considered to be an option as well, and Ring of Honor, obviously, if they want to right the ship with whatever's going on with them. Clearly, Killer Kross would be a great addition to their roster as well. Now, the difference here between the report that I did on Saturday and today, Kross has drawn interest from WWE in the past. He has brought his talents to the Performance Center. He was there for a tryout in the past before he signed with Impact Wrestling. He's made a couple of appearances on WWE TV, including an episode of Monday Night Raw in early 2015 as Darren Young's tag team partner. I did not know about that at all. As of the most recent report, sources indicate that Kross, the only thing that sources have been told about him, or that sources are reporting about him from someone in WWE, is that if he hasn't already, he should be getting a better offer than most, and they are willing to give him a start on Raw or SmackDown to fast track him into the upper echelon of whatever they're doing right now on Monday or Friday night. Obviously, Killer Kross, I am sure, is weighing all his options. He's got the ball. The ball is in his court. He could pretty much demand whatever he wants, and I'm sure WWE is going to give it to him. Whether they use him correctly or utilize him correctly, book him in something important, I don't see what they could possibly do with him on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. You just can't throw this guy to the wolves. Nobody on the WWE side of the fence is going to know who he is. We need him to be seasoned. We need him to be hyped. We need some video packages, promo packages, hype packages, something to get everybody aware of what is coming. You need to do what you usually don't do with everybody else on the roster, and that is build him to be something important. You just can't sign him and throw him on Raw or SmackDown and expect him to just be great. You can't expect him to swim on his own. He's going to need help. I don't like that at all. That just seems like WWE is a little bit more desperate than the last couple of times they had a free agent that caught their eye. You can't do that. I say, put him in NXT. If WWE is going to sign him, and he is going to go with WWE, he needs to be in NXT. He needs to be in NXT. At least a year. He's 34, 35. So what? 6 months to a year. Get him familiar with how they do things. You just can't throw him on Raw or SmackDown. Why would he even want that if you're looking at WWE as a potential option? He's not an idiot. He sees what's going on. None of his friends are succeeding on Raw or SmackDown right now. I guarantee you if you poll half the fucking locker room, they're not even happy with the position on Raw or SmackDown. Why would he want that for himself? If anything, he's going to go to NXT, not only because it's probably a right business move and a career move, but his fiance is there. So why not go? WWE, that last part got me. They're willing to give him a start on Raw or SmackDown to fast track him to the main roster. I hope he ends up going with AEW. I really do. Where does he think he will thrive most? WWE's always the right option. Money, the push, the hype, the aspiration, the dream, the big spotlight. Yes, I know it could be very convincing and it could be very blinding, but maybe you should think about what you truly want and how your talents are going to be used not only to benefit and further your career, but don't you want to be looked at as a top guy in a promotion where you're going to be respected? If he goes to WWE, he's going to be another fish in the fucking water. If he goes to AEW, he might end up being the face of the entire fucking company. I don't know, man. It's going to be a very interesting situation. That's the update on Killer Kross. Let me know what you guys think about that. Speaking of AEW Dynamite, they got several dates announced for 2020 and a major match announced on January 8th in South Haven, Mississippi. So we're going with Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes. They are teaming up for the first time to take on the Lucha Brothers in a first-time ever match. This is being hyped up as their anniversary edition of Dynamite, since the show will happen on the one-year anniversary of the day when the company was officially announced in Jacksonville, Florida. So tickets are available, obviously, at AEWTix.com. If you're down that way and you want to see some pro wrestling, you guys can go purchase your tickets. Jacksonville, Mississippi, Miami, the Chris Jericho Cruise. That's one of the dates. They're going to be filming matches for Dynamite on the cruise, which should be fucking awesome. That's happening January 20th through the 24th. Miami on the 15th. We got Mississippi on the 8th and January 1 next Wednesday in Jacksonville, Florida. January 29th, Cleveland, Ohio. February 5th, one day before my birthday, by the way. I'm sure you guys don't care about that. Huntsville, Alabama. We got February 12th, Austin, Texas. February 19th in Atlanta, Georgia. We got the 26th in Kansas City, Missouri. And then February 29th, that February 26th show in Kansas City is going to be the go-home show for AEW Revolution, which is happening on the leap year, February 29th of this coming new year, man. So that is going to be exciting. And speaking on AEW Revolution, they sell out in under an hour. So that has got to be pretty damn good for All Elite Wrestling after the week that they had with everything that kind of just went out of control on social media. AEW Revolution, they got some good news this week, sold out in under an hour. Now, that is the one glimmer of good news that they got this week. And with all the bad news that happened this week, we got the Young Bucks leaving social media on Twitter. They left Twitter. Something went viral. Something happened on Dynamite last week. It was a really, 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 really bad botch. And it caused both Matt and Nick Jackson to leave Twitter and the entire platform. Now, the reason why the Young Bucks decided to leave Twitter has been revealed. Obviously, everybody is in the camp of they left because they couldn't stand the heat in the kitchen after this botch on Dynamite in the closing segments of last week's show. In a post on Instagram, Matt Jackson released a statement explaining that he and his brother Nick are leaving Twitter to better their mental health and creativity, as well as spend more time with their families. This is the statement that he put out on Instagram. First off, I acknowledge how ridiculous it is that I even need to talk about this, but it's clearly a distraction. My brother and I decided to leave Twitter permanently. A few days ago, we realized it took precious time away from our families, who've already sacrificed enough time as it is. Also, we've noticed how it seems to stifle our creativity. Lastly, after taking numerous breaks this past year from Twitter, we found it to be healing to our mental health, so getting off completely was the next step. This is not going to change how we interact with our amazing fans, and we will continue to put out our best content possible. Never be afraid to say hello to us, whether it's on social media or in person. Thanks so much for the support. We love you all very much. Happy holidays. End quote. Now, the Young Bucks have been on the receiving end of a great deal of negativity from the pro wrestling landscape and the pro wrestling fan base on Twitter, which is absolutely downright toxic. AEW has drawn criticism this week, some warranted. Some people just are pushing a narrative that they will not let go of. And a lot of that criticism came from the closing segments of Dynamite last week. Now, I always say Twitter could be a great tool to get your brand and your business and your YouTube channel, whatever you're creating, whether it's content or you got a home business or a business of your own, out there to the masses. It could also be used to damage someone's reputation, and it could also be used to spread hate and negativity, push a false narrative, etc., etc., etc. You guys know the deal with Twitter and social media in general. Some good, some bad. Some good people you meet online, some people are absolutely toxic. You don't even know why they're allowed to fucking breathe the air that us normal people breathe. Now, Twitter is the result here of why the Young Bucks left social media. Dustin Rhodes was in the closing segment of Dynamite last week. He was struck by one of the Dark Order creepers, and the punches were non-existent. Phantom punches were thrown on Dustin Rhodes. Someone clipped this from the TV. Obviously, it went viral on social media. The criticism of AEW started to mount and mount and mount, and that's what caused the Young Bucks to leave social media. Dustin Rhodes, he was actually the one to come out and say something on this. One of the first ones, I should say, to come out and speak on this. He wasn't remaining quiet on it. He says, and I quote, "It's almost 2020 and I'm embarrassed at what I just saw in the great business that I still protect to this day. Please learn how to punch, or better yet, come to my class that I hold weekly and I will teach you." So the creeper was throwing, like I said, phantom punches at Dustin Rhodes. Someone clipped this from the show. They put it on Twitter. It went viral. Silas Young from Ring of Honor, he actually took a shot at this incident. He suggested that Ring of Honor allow their roster to do live television and live broadcasts. He promised that there wouldn't be any epic botches because they're real pros. So, I don't know why people like this, like Silas Young, need comments like that. You're real pros, you're in the same fucking profession as everybody else in the business. Mistakes happen when there's live television. It's not that big of a fucking deal. He says, hey, Ring of Honor, can we get live TV every week in 2020? I'm pretty sure I speak for the locker room when I say we won't have any botches popping up every week on the internet. Hashtag real pros. So then it was mentioned to him that it happens to everyone. So he replied to this person on social media who replied back to him and said, and I quote, yes, they do happen occasionally. It may have happened to me a time or two, but when you're a TV company, they shouldn't be happening every week, especially on things as simple as throwing punches on a downed competitor. Now, this particular creeper was called out in a big way. He was called out by not only Silas Young, Dustin Rhodes, Trish Stratus, X-Pac, Mark Henry even said the guy should be fired. So, Randy Orton, one of the bigger names in the WWE, seen this clip, and obviously he had something to say. He replied to a Tama Tonga tweet. Tama Tonga was joking around saying that it was Enzo Amore under the mask. He apparently is a seasoned vet, says Randy Orton, and is used to live TV, and just assumed that the camera to his left was the one with the red dot thingy on it for those horrendous fucking punches. Hashtag work on your punch, kid. Or quit the business because you're the drizzling shits. Or you can come to the top company and I'll teach you one of the most important aspects of our business. Throw a fucking fist. That's Randy Orton on social media. So, I understand that the Young Bucks didn't want this negativity surrounding them, especially during the holidays. I get that it might stifle their creativity. I get that they want to remove themselves because it might kind of leak into what they're creating and it might tarnish their passion and their love for what they do. This is going to come with the territory. You know, you can escape social media for all the excuses that you want to put out there to the general public. It could be mental health. It could be more time with the family. It could be just stepping away because it is kind of stepping on your creativity. You know, whatever the reason may be, they did it in a way that came off as if they could not handle the criticism. Because one day they were there, and then that same night, or the next day, I don't remember when it happened, I just seen the reports, but almost instantaneously, it happened, and then they left social media without anybody knowing. And their father actually had to come on social media and explain, before the Young Bucks put out a statement, why they left social media. So Papa Buck, he explained why they left Twitter. And he says, and I quote, thanks for all the love we are getting from everyone wondering about Matt and Nick. They are fine and just needed a well-deserved break from the toxicity on Twitter. They are the most sweetest, most genuine guys ever. They don't deserve the hate they get. Love you all. End quote. So they got a lot of hate from this situation. And the reason why they left Twitter is because of this situation. But they did it in a way where they opened themselves up to even more criticism because now the fans are saying, well, they got thin skin, they couldn't handle the heat in the kitchen, etc., etc., etc. Listen, botches are going to happen. Botches are going to happen. Was it a big deal to me? No. We see terrible aspects of WWE every single week. Now, I didn't really see this live. I seen it as, you know, it was going viral on social media. I didn't really see this happen live. It was just so quick. But when I seen it on social media, I said to myself, this is pretty fucking bad. And that goes with the entire segment. The entire closing segment of AEW Dynamite last week was fucking terrible. I don't know who enjoyed that segment. Dave Meltzer shit all over it. And he's the biggest AEW mark that there is in the entire community. The segment was garbage. When you have so much going on in that segment, you have so many bodies in that ring at the same time and so many different things happening at the same time. Accidents are bound to happen. I don't get why this was magnified so much over the past couple of days. And all I can attribute that to is people want AEW to fail so badly that when they mess up, it's going to be magnified times a million because people want AEW to fail. I sit here every single week and I call WWE out on their mistakes, and they are a company that knows they are fucking up, knows they're putting out shitty content. They leave themselves open to criticism every single week, and I see right through what they're doing. I don't sit here and hate on WWE for any particular reason, but I want the show to be better. I want creative to be better. I want what I'm watching to be better. These people do the opposite. They hate because for whatever reason, they want AEW to fail. And when they make mistakes, that is what they are watching for. They have snipers on rooftops. They have eagle eyes on every little thing that they do, and they do wrong. And when they do something wrong, it's going to be a situation like this. It's going to be magnified more than it should be because they're pushing their narrative that they want AEW to fail for whatever reason. We don't know why people want AEW to fail. These people take it as if it's something fucking personal that's going to damage their lives. Oh, you can't be pro AEW. I only watch NXT. Fuck AEW. I hope they die. I hope they get into a bus crash. I hope they fail. I hope they get canceled off TV. That's the type of mentality wrestling Twitter has. They're pushing their narrative because it is hate-driven. I'm pushing my narrative because I want better fucking shows. And half of the fucking people watching don't know any better. That's why I'm here. That's why a lot of people are here. A lot of people like BC. And a lot of people that actually have a fucking brain, which is very few and far between in this goddamn community. But I know what I'm doing here. I'm pushing a narrative because I want the shows to be better. These people are pushing a narrative because they have nothing but hate. And I don't really understand why. Now, I do what I do, and people think that I hate for no reason. People think that I do what I do because it gets me views. Nobody's getting views. Nobody's getting views in the community. Everybody's fucking down. I do it because I love the fucking sport so much that I want to see a better product. If you want positivity emanating from me and my channel, watch me on Wednesdays when there really isn't anything to complain about. On Monday and Friday, there's a heap of shit to complain about. Stop pushing your shitty fucking narrative and grow a brain, be professional, and tell the fans what really is going on. There's always some positive to the situation. The positive to the situation this week is that Matt and Nick are going to have a beautiful Christmas with their family. The positive in this situation is that AEW Revolution sold out. The positive in this situation is I hope. I'm not expecting them to because I don't really expect much of anything anymore because the entire business right now doesn't have any interest. It's not generating any interest. What I hope to have happen here is that the Young Bucks take this situation, go into Dynamite in Jacksonville on January 1st, and they have a kick-ass show. And they use this to create. They use this to put on a great show and rectify the mistakes. Everybody's monitoring AEW for whatever reason, and they're jumping all over the fact, oh, they lost in the ratings, they should be worried about the ratings, and they're dwindling in audience, and all this stuff, whatever. It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't concern you. But I hope that they take all this situation and use it as fuel to create and give a great show on January 1st. In fact, they're not letting it bother them because they just released a new episode of Being the Elite, and they actually poked fun at the situation. SCU was with the Young Bucks celebrating the holidays on Being the Elite. You know, it's been a yearly tradition for them for the past couple of years. They all get together, their families get together, and they enjoy the holidays together. Matt and Christopher Daniels had a segment on Being the Elite this week, and they actually poked fun at the situation with Matt Jackson throwing phantom punches at Christopher Daniels on their couch. So they're taking it very lightly, and they're taking it as if it's going to pass very quickly. Hopefully, it doesn't ruin their creativity or their passion. It doesn't get to them mentally, and they create going into the new year. That's all I can hope for. But people who are blowing this out of proportion are doing it for one reason and one reason only, and that is for hate. And I don't really understand all the hate. Scorpio Sky fired back over the criticism of AEW Dynamite, and a Twitter account who I didn't really know of until this week because he was the one who tweeted out the phantom botch punches on Dynamite. Klondike Bill made a comment about how there are a lot of dives and standing around waiting for the dives to happen. This brought a response from Scorpio Sky saying, More standing around waiting to take a kick. And he tweeted a gif of a UFC fighter standing around in an octagon, standing around waiting to take a big jumping kick, getting knocked out in the process. Not sure if that was the right gif to show in that moment, but it was clarified that Bill is a fan of Scorpio Sky. He was just perplexed at all the waiting on the spots that happen in AEW, where everybody's on, the spots where everybody's on the outside, and, there's 2 or 3 guys, specifically in a tag team setting. They're on the outside, and one guy's in the ring. He does a fucking tope over the top rope and takes everybody out, and they're just waiting, watching him run the ropes instead of moving out of the way. And while he is diving, he misses. Now, I don't understand that. I don't know why. See, this is a hate. I don't know if he's a fan of AEW or not. I don't know if he's one of those guys that loves AEW but's just being overly hard on them because he wants them to be better, or if he's commenting on something like this and pushing a hate-filled narrative. I don't know. I don't know the account. I don't know who he is. I don't really give a shit, to be quite honest with you. But isn't it the same when we see Roman Reigns do his Superman dive over the top rope? How fucking ridiculous it looks when he has 8 to 10 fucking people standing around waiting for him, looking at him as he's flying through the sky, and they're just waiting for him to dive on top of them. Give me a fucking break. Seriously. This is an account. I could absolutely see this being an account that picks on AEW for the sake of picking on AEW, but when something happens like that in WWE, it goes overlooked. That's a bullshit fucking statement. What a fucking retard. I hate people like that. I really do. How ridiculous is that comparison? Seriously. Seriously. I don't understand this shit. So Scorpio Sky blocked him. Scorpio Sky blocked him. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Nobody wants this negativity around them during the holidays on social media. So clearly everything is coming, to AEW in a negative way this week. Hopefully they could just take the week off, clear their heads, go back to work for January 1st and really do a great thing and start the season off, or the year off, I should say, in the right way. Moving on here, man, we got just a couple more stories. Speaking of AEW and their ratings, Eric Bischoff says AEW should not panic about the ratings. And AEW lost to NXT in the ratings this week, which, it's not that difficult to understand. NXT was a good show. AEW was an okay show. The good show beat out the okay show. NXT was a much better show than AEW. There's no fucking excuses. I laughed at all the people. I can't wait to see what JD says about AEW and NXT this week. What excuse is he going to use that AEW lost in the ratings? I'm not using an excuse. You want my fucking excuse? NXT was the better show. Cut the shit. There's no fucking fake narratives here on this show. I tell it as it is. Now, while discussing the recent ratings results on 83 weeks, Eric Bischoff explained that AEW should not be panicking. It is still worth paying attention to at this point, though. He says, and I quote, "I wouldn't panic if I was AEW. No, 1 week, even though it was a pretty big gap this time, I wouldn't sweat that, though I'd pay attention to it. If NXT or AEW's numbers continue the trajectory that they're on, this will be a war of attrition. This won't be a war that is building bigger and better things like the Monday Night Wars did. This is just a war between AEW and WWE's C show." Yes, he calls NXT the C show. I think Eric's got that backwards. It's the A show, and SmackDown could very well be the C show at this point. Monday Night Raw, believe it or not, is their B show, because I think SmackDown's been actually worse than Monday Night Raw has. I think Monday Night Raw has worse booking, but SmackDown is the worst show. Now, he says the C show, and that's going to be determined by who can outlast the other until they start building an audience. Based on what I've seen, neither of them are building an audience. They're, to one degree or another, both losing an audience. I don't really think the ratings are a factor at all on how each brand is performing. A lot of people are making the ratings out to be a bigger deal than they really should be. AEW has been on TV for 11 weeks, 12 weeks, give or take, 11, 12 weeks. You're not going to really gauge the future of the promotion on 12 weeks. Could we pick out things that they need to do better? Absolutely. Could we pick out the good and the bad? Absolutely. Could we pick out what needs to be worked on as far as how the show needs to be presented, how the show technically needs to sound, how the creative needs to be? Yes. We do that every single week with WWE. But you're not going to gauge the future of the company and the promotion on 11 or 12 weeks. NXT is something that's been around for 7 years. And they've been on the WWE Network for the majority of those 7 years. They've just been given new life in front of a new audience, in front of a mainstream audience, on a major TV network that's only been on TV on USA Network for 12 weeks, head-to-head with AEW. They are in front of new eyes. They are in front of new people. So what do you expect from NXT as well? Yeah, you're going to have all those people coming over from the WWE Network that are going to watch every Wednesday and be there religiously like they were on the WWE Network. Some people don't go out and watch live NXT. Possibly. There's not everybody that watches the show live. They either DVR it, they watch it when they can, they might be working, they might have a date, they might have other things that they need to take care of, and they can't dedicate 2 hours of their life to watch weekly live pro wrestling on a Wednesday night. Whereas it was taped, you could go back and watch it anytime you fucking want. Maybe that's what they still do. Because remember, NXT is still on the WWE Network on Thursdays at 8 p.m. They take Wednesday's live show and they wait 24 hours to upload it to the WWE Network. Some of those people might not want to go out and watch because it's just too much. They might want to watch dedicated on the WWE Network. Again, this is a brand that is now in front of a new market. It's in front of new eyes. So for them, even though they've been around for 7 years, they are pretty much handling this as if they're new. They're handling this as they're the new kid on the block. Same thing with AEW. They're in the same boat as AEW. New. Because they're both new to major TV networks. The ratings shouldn't matter. They're both looking to build an audience. Building an audience for both of these shows is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time. You know, who knows what next year at this time is going to look like. Maybe NXT, instead of doing 700 to 800, maybe they're doing 900 to 1 million. Maybe AEW is doing right now 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, and they bump that up from 8 to 9, 9 to 1 million. We don't know. I've said countless times on this channel, on this show, AEW during the summer of 2020 is going to look vastly different. There's a lot of free agents in the WWE, good ones, who are disgruntled and unhappy. They could very well be making their way over to AEW. They're not game changers, but they're going to bolster that roster to be a little bit more competitive and a little bit more serious. And those free agents are going to take eyes with them to see what they do. Because everybody knows how talented someone like Luke Harper is. Everybody knows how talented guys like The Revival are. Everybody knows how talented guys like Cedric Alexander are. If they end up going to AEW, that's going to be big interest to see how they do away from the failures that have been brought upon them in WWE. Everything is going to take time. There's going to be ups depending on who goes where. There's going to be ups depending on pay-per-view builds. There's going to be ups depending on hype. And there's going to be downs. When it's a down week, you know it. You feel it. So it's going to be an up and down process. It's going to be a waiting game. It's going to be patience. The ratings, everybody's taking the ratings to be some big fucking deal, some end-all, be-all. You know, they're looking at the ratings and they're pushing, again, their fucking narrative about how they want AEW to die. Look at the ratings. Good. I hope they fail. When I say it, I mean it in a way. When I say it about Raw and I say it about SmackDown, I mean it in a way because WWE monitors those ratings, even though they say the ratings aren't important. They are fucking important, even more so now that they're on Fox. USA is looking at the ratings. Even when I say it, I don't mean it as a way I want WWE to be canceled, because how stupid would I look? I would be out of a fucking job. What am I going to talk about? Call of Duty? Give me a break. When I say it, I mean it in a way that I want WWE to pay attention, because that's the only way that they're going to know that they're fucking up, because they know they're fucking up. They still got their dedicated audience watching, and they're not going to change. So if the dedicated audience is there, they're not going to change. If the number comes in lower than their dedicated audience every week, then that might spawn them to do something drastic or change something for the better. That's why I say it. But the ratings, of course they shouldn't panic about the ratings. You know that AEW is panicking about the ratings. You know Matt and Nick panic about the ratings. You know Cody looks at the ratings. You know Tony Khan and Kenny Omega and everybody looks at the ratings. TNT's looking at the ratings. I'm sure that they're hearing it from TNT. As long as their numbers are still high in the key demographics, they're okay. But everybody is worrying about the ratings. Don't worry about the ratings. I feel like sometimes that, the ratings are made out to be such a big deal because everybody talks about it. And then, it kind of sits on management's mind. It sits on Cody and Matt and Nick and Tony's minds. And when the numbers are something one week and then they come in so fucking drastically lower the next week, it's kind of a defeated attitude. It's like a content creator here on YouTube. When you do 40,000 views on one podcast and then the next week, because of YouTube's fucked up algorithm, you do 15. I'm like, where the fuck was everybody that watched the video last week? I'm missing half of my fucking audience. It gets to you. You just feel defeated. You feel like you don't want to create content anymore for that week. You want to take a break. So everybody looks at the ratings. It's not that big of a deal. And Eric Bischoff is right. They're not building an audience right now, but I don't think I didn't really listen to the podcast. I don't think he went in depth, or I don't know if he went in depth about how AEW's new, and NXT, though they've been around for 7 years, they're also new as well. Because they're on USA Network, and they've never been live ever before, outside of a takeover. So, let's see what happens next year around October, and then we can gauge what's happening with AEW and NXT, and really dive into this a little bit more to see if they're generating any interest and raising that audience from what I think they should be doing, which I think, both shows should be doing at least 900 to 1 million every single week. But I don't know how they aren't. I really don't. I really don't know how they aren't when Monday Night Raw can do 2 million and NXT only does 600, 700,000. There's a lot of fucking idiots out there that don't have a brain at all. I just don't get it. Finally, guys, we got Hiroshi Tanahashi. He wants to challenge for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. One of the biggest rumors going around is that AEW was getting ready to have a partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling. As soon as they got started, everybody was like, they're going to have a New Japan partnership because of where the majority of the management team came from. Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, right? Hangman Page. Everybody is thinking that New Japan is going to start up something with AEW. They couldn't because they're in a dedicated and loyal relationship right now with Ring of Honor. So they can't really do anything until that partnership comes to an end. Now, the relationship never was brought up. Now, for the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, it's been brought up every now and then. It's been brought up again because Hiroshi Tanahashi is mentioning AEW by name, and Jericho and Moxley also will be appearing at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4 and January 5, despite both of them being exclusive to AEW. Now, this would suggest that there is at least some sort of working relationship between the two, being that we got Jericho and Moxley working Wrestle Kingdom. Jericho could do whatever he wants. Moxley, he's another guy who wanted to work New Japan coming out of WWE. It's something that he had on the bucket list, and Tony Khan is not going to go out there and tell Jon Moxley, yeah, we'll sign you, but you're with us and you can't do anything else. Tony Khan is such a mark himself, he's going to allow Jon Moxley to work a date here or there as long as it's not constant with another promotion. So why would he say no to Jon Moxley? Same thing with Jericho. Jericho could do whatever the fuck he wants right now. He's the MVP of pro wrestling in 2019. So they're simply fulfilling their obligations and they're fulfilling their wishes. They want to go work with New Japan. They're going to be allowed to go work with New Japan. They're Moxley and Jericho. They could do whatever the fuck they want, like I said. Plus, Jericho had a working relationship with New Japan previously before. Anyway, same thing with Moxley. So if New Japan kind of wanted them for something big, I think Tony Khan would say, sure, go and do that, just out of sheer respect for New Japan, because I think he knows what could be with New Japan if he plays the game correctly. Now, the latest hint is a big one. And I don't really know if it's a big hint. Could be. or if it's just something to take the unpredictability factor away from the upcoming Hiroshi Tanahashi and Chris Jericho match at Wrestle Kingdom. It comes straight from the mouth of Hiroshi Tanahashi, who, like I said, will go head-to-head with Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom, and he believes that if he wins the match against Jericho, which will be a non-title match, I don't even know if Jericho's coming out with the AEW Championship. That remains to be seen. That'll be something to keep an eye on as well. If he wins the match against Jericho, he should be entitled at a shot at the AEW World Championship. Now, Jericho's last wrestling appearance for New Japan came in June when he lost to Okada, but has since won the AEW Championship and appears to be unbeatable with his Judas effect. A Tanahashi win would seem to confirm, in my eyes, that a working relationship between AEW and New Japan is in the works. I don't think that is going to happen, but if Tanahashi beats Jericho, then we could see some sort of working relationship with New Japan and AEW in the future. I don't think Tony Khan is going to go out there and allow I don't even think Chris Jericho would, want to lose in this situation. I don't think Jericho would mind losing, period, but I don't think Jericho's going to want to lose in this situation because with him, he's the AEW champion. And Wrestle Kingdom is happening seemingly in a couple of weeks, and he's got a major match with Jon Moxley, not really confirmed, but we all know where it's going, on February 29th for the AEW Championship at Revolution. Why would you want Jericho to lose before he gets to Moxley if Moxley is the guy that you want to take the title off Jericho? Why would you beat Jericho on the road to Moxley? You're going to take that away from Moxley? Moxley beating Jericho and Moxley winning the championship by beating Jericho is the moment that you want. If Moxley beats a Jericho that's been beaten already, it's going to take away from the moment that Moxley has awaiting him on February 29th. I don't think Tony Khan is going to allow Jericho to lose. I don't think New Japan would even allow Jericho to lose while being the AEW World Championship if there really is no working agreement. Now, if there is a working agreement, I could absolutely see it happening, and Tony Khan, I honestly think, and Jericho, would probably push for Tanahashi to win because after that, it could lead to another match with Jericho and Tanahashi on AEW television or at an AEW pay-per-view. It could lead to more New Japan wrestlers showing up on AEW television. We don't know. So it certainly opens the doors for a possible partnership here. Or it could be the mentality that I have, and I could sit here and say, yeah, this is possible, but it could also be a situation of, someone like me, and I think a lot of other people who are looking at this match and kind of deem it a little predictable. Jericho, the AEW World Champion, going into a match with Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's the World Champion. There's no way he's going to lose this match, right? What if they just want the unpredictability factor out there because everybody thinks that Jericho is going to win regardless? What if Tanahashi said this because Jericho wanted him to, or Tony Khan wanted him to, or New Japan wanted him to? Or maybe he took it upon himself to just kind of further the story here, or further the narrative. I want an AEW title shot if I'm going to beat Chris Jericho, not only if, when I beat Chris Jericho, I want an AEW title shot. Maybe he's furthering the narrative because he knows everybody thinks that the match is too predictable as it sits right now. So if he threw that out there, it would be, oh shit, we got some possibilities brewing here, That takes away the unpredictability factor. Plus, you also get that possible New Japan AEW partnership out there in the story right now. What's going on? People are going to start asking questions. So I think at the end of the day that this is just Hiroshi Tanahashi pushing a narrative to kind of get people thinking, well, it's not as predictable as I once thought if he's mentioning he wants a shot at Chris Jericho in the AEW Championship. So we'll see what happens with that. As far as Tanahashi, he just signed a new deal with New Japan, and they also signed Yuji Nagata as well to a new deal. Both stars announced via Twitter that they signed with New Japan, or extended with New Japan. The player contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling has been updated. I will do my best next year. Thank you, wrote Tanahashi. Christmas Eve this year is really cold, Nagata wrote. It may be the coldest in the past few years. Such a contract was renewed today. Thank you, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Hiroshi Nagata in 2020. Tanahashi himself has been with New Japan since 1999. He ain't going anywhere ever. And he graduated from the dojo in 1999. Tanahashi, like I said, will take on Jericho on night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom 14 on January 5th. Definitely opens up the possibilities. It's definitely a talking point. I do think it's going to happen eventually in 2020. Again, we don't know when that Ring of Honor deal and partnership is up with New Japan, but I do expect AEW, and that could be all they need. That could swing the Wednesday Night Wars in favor of AEW, and that's all it might take. We don't know when, we don't know if, but I do think it's going to happen. And again, it's either one of two things. There is something brewing. There are open lines of communication between both companies, or this could just simply be, those involved taking it upon themselves to make this match a little less predictable. That's all I got. And that's Off the Script Elite. Thank you guys so very much for all your support. Hope you guys have a great holiday. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Hit that thumbs up. It really helps out the channel when you do. And hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed what you heard here. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I want to know. Hashtag down below in the comments, Y2J for Chris Jericho, if you made it to the end of the video, man. Thank you guys so very much. I am not going to be here tomorrow because it's Christmas Day, and I feel like if I upload tomorrow, nobody's going to watch. There are no shows tomorrow. I am not watching NXT. I'll watch it on DVR on Thursday. I'm not watching any pro wrestling on Wednesday night. I just want to Mad Elf, and I want to relax. I'm going to do everything that I can except watch pro wrestling. So I'm not doing that. And I will be back on Thursday. We might have some small wrestling content up. If not, I'll have some video game content up with Luigi's Mansion. I got almost 2 hours recorded in the can for Thursday for the next part of that walkthrough for Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Nintendo Switch. And I'm getting out of here, guys. Enjoy the holiday, and I will see you right back here with more content after the Christmas holiday on Thursday. Until then, I'm JD, and this is the #1 podcast for all, not only pro wrestling, but AEW news right here on YouTube. This is Off the Script. I'm JD. Merry Christmas, guys, and I'll see you guys right back here on Thursday with more content on the channel. See you then.